but I keep seeing all these people that are saying, carnivore helped my depression, carnivore helped us conceive. We were having fertility problems. Carnivore helped my autoimmune problems. And then I see my friends and family suffering with those same things. And there's this dilemma of like, how do I tell them that I think this diet will help you without pressuring them? And I still haven't figured out that formula yet.
Alex, how did you find carnivore?
So I'll start back when I was in high school. I was 6'4" and I weighed 180 pounds, and that was really skinny. And I ate whatever I wanted. I could eat junk food, I could eat a lot of it, and I would stay thin. So that trend continued through college and I even into my like single male adult life where I was living alone, I could eat whatever I wanted and I generally stayed thin. So I was blessed with a good metabolism. And I didn't have a lot of health problems either. So I didn't really have any incentive to look at what I was eating or why or learn any of those good habits. So I'd say around my mid 20s, my metabolism shifted and suddenly my body started to react to the food that I was eating. So, I had 25 years of bad habits and that became very hard to break. And so I started to gain weight probably around 25 years old, 26, and I steadily gained weight all the way through my 30s. So I got married during that time, and the heaviest I got was 330 pounds. So almost close to double my weight in high school. So I definitely noticed that I was gaining weight. But once again, I was relatively healthy. I didn't have, we'll call it a strong why. I didn't have that strong motivation to go seek out a better lifestyle and then commit to it. I did a little bit of research during that time on how to lose weight. And what I did discover was, first of all, there's a lot of contradictory information out there when it comes to nutrition. I could find doctors citing studies saying, hey, diet number one is great. You should do it. It's the best diet. And then I could find other doctors citing other studies that would say, hey, diet number one is terrible. It's going to kill you. You should do diet number two. And I concluded that it's really hard to know what's true in nutrition. And I just kind of let it ride. So up until about 2016, that's when I hit my heaviest weight of 330. And my boss actually found a system that worked for him. He lost a whole bunch of weight. He lost over 100 pounds. And I was working for him the whole time. So I watched him lose weight. And that really stood out to me because up until that point, I had not met a single adult in my adult life who had lost weight and kept it off. I either knew skinny people who had always been skinny, which didn't seem to help me, or I knew fat people who struggled to lose weight just like I did. And so here was like this exception where someone had lost weight. So I asked him, I said, what did you do? He had signed up for a company that's in town. It's a local company. And they basically walk you through the paleo diet and they have a coach and, they do supplements and things like that. You check in with the coach every day. And that's how he lost 100 pounds. And so I was really intrigued by this because, here was something definite that I could do and I could actually follow this plan. It wasn't just an idea I saw on the internet, it was a plan. So my wife and I signed up for that plan and it was expensive. It cost like $1,500 just to sign up. And so there was some substantial buy-in for that. But we were committed. And so we had good success. I lost about 85 pounds on that. I got down to 245. I think that math is right. But yeah, I got down to 245 pounds and my wife lost some weight as well. And we were going great. I did have some doubts though on whether or not I could maintain that. So I thought, when I don't have this coach anymore and it's just me, can I sustain this diet? And the short answer was no, I could not. Um, so we got pregnant maybe 4 months into doing this plan, and that just kind of derailed us. And by the time our son was like one, I had gained back basically all of that weight. So we had several more kids in the meantime, and my weight just continued to stay up high. And I would, I was able to lose a few pounds, maybe 10, 15 pounds just by trying anything. Literally, I could try any diet or even just like willpower and like, I'm going to eat healthy. Um, but I could never lose more than 15 pounds. So I also started to have some real health problems. So by this time, I was in my early to mid 30s, and I was starting to see some legitimate health problems now. And I made a list here so I could remember them. First of all, I would get sick quite often. And when I was sick, it always seemed to take 2 weeks. It was just always kind of rough. I started getting headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness. I was later diagnosed with high blood pressure, as I think what causes those things. And I dealt with that for like a year before I finally went to the doctor. And they put me on a statin. I did not know how bad statins were at the time, but okay, I'll take it anyway. And funny story, the statin did lower my blood pressure, but the side effects are literally the same side effects that I was trying to fix. So the statin caused headaches and dizziness and lightheadedness. And it kind of made me say, well, why am I even taking this? Yeah, my numbers on the page are lower, but the symptoms that I was experiencing did not get fixed. And it seemed like I would just have to take this the rest of my life, which deep down I thought that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like natural and normal to like, oh, you just need medicine the rest of your life. I also had really bad eczema on my fingertips. So like they would get dry and cracked. And I work in IT, so I'm typing on the computer most days. I'm working on hardware, and it was painful to have these cracks in my hand. I would even go so far as I would put super glue on my fingers. I would let it set. I wouldn't glue them together, although I did accidentally do that one time. But I would just let it set, and it would be like a seal, like a liquid Band-Aid around my fingers, and it would last a few days. And I would just do that so I could just keep working with these cracked fingers. And that was pretty painful, and that lasted over a year. I started to get joint pain, especially in my hands, because, like I said, I type a lot. So I think I was starting getting arthritis. I had no motivation. I had brain fog. And if I was to rate how I felt across the average of a week, it was lousy. I had mostly lousy days where I just felt bad. Every once in a while, I'd have an okay day. Um, I also had a lot of stomach aches. And what I now know is carbohydrate withdrawal, where, maybe I would skip breakfast and my body'd say, I really want carbs. But I would just feel constant stomach aches. And on top of that, I also have a history of cancer and heart disease in my family. So all of that started to add up to me trying to get more serious about my health. And so then, like most people, I discovered carnivore through Jordan Peterson. So he did that podcast with Joe Rogan where he talks about it. And that was another example of experiential, I tried it evidence. And I really liked that because, once again, it's so confusing when you try to look into nutrition, but to hear someone say, hey, I had these problems, I tried this diet and it fixed them. That seemed really exciting, and it was almost like a new way of testing truth. There's some philosophical stuff on there where how do you know what's true? Well, one way is you can test it for yourself, and that's ultimately what I ended up doing. But so I saw Jordan Peterson, and that really made me interested in it. And then I also looked up his daughter's story because he got put onto the diet by his daughter. She had really bad autoimmune problems. And by trial and error, she found the carnivore diet and found that it helped her autoimmune problems. So then, after having searched for her, the YouTube algorithm did its thing and started feeding me just more carnivore videos and channels, including your own. And I really appreciated your channel. So, first of all, thank you, Dave, for all of the interviews you do, because I think it helps cut through a lot of the noise when you're trying to find out what should I eat and how should I eat. It's almost like each individual person is a small scale study. They cite all these big studies where they study 10,000 people, but an individual person giving their testimony is like a single person doing a study and then reporting on it. And so by doing that, you can crowdsource your study And I thought that was really neat. So I essentially did what Carrie at Homestead How calls phase one. I know you interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, but he says phase one of the carnivore diet is where you do your research and you become convinced. So I kind of naturally did that and I became convinced. And then I planned how I was going to start. So my wife and I had an anniversary trip that was scheduled in October. And I said, I'm going to start right after that. And so I did. I started, and it was right before Halloween, which may not have been the best choice. You know, Halloween in the States is a lot of candy. So we brought a bunch of candy into the house right when I'm starting this new diet. But it was a real testament to the carnivore diet because I feel like it gives you willpower when you do the carnivore diet. So I did not eat a single piece of candy for Halloween, and I'm not sure I've ever done that in my life. So I was really proud of that, and props to the carnivore diet for giving me that sort of willpower. I was really scared of the keto flu at the beginning, and more scared than I needed to be. But I made sure to keep my salt high and my fat intake high, and that seemed to help me get through it. I actually really only had one instance of keto flu, and what happened was it's probably week one or two. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was shivering, and I was not cold. I could tell I'm not cold, but I was just shaking all over. And it took me a minute to come to my senses because I had just woken up. But then I remembered, okay, one of the symptoms of keto flu is muscle spasms. So I went downstairs, made a big glass of salt water, and chugged it. And then I stopped shaking after like 5 minutes. And so that was really encouraging. And it kind of reinforced the stuff that I had researched that, yes, like this is a real thing and you can fix it and overcome it fairly easily. So, yeah, that's how I started the carnivore diet, and I have been going for about 4 months now. So I made it through Thanksgiving and Christmas and Halloween without cheating. Too bad. I cheated a couple of times, but they were all planned except for one. And when I do a planned cheat day, I usually first of all try to do a single meal. I don't do a whole day. I just do one meal, and then I fast the day after. And then I will make sure my next meal after the fast is a carnivore meal. So I've had decent success with that, and I try to do only like one per month. I don't want to cheat a whole bunch because I can feel it. Like there's like a loss of momentum a little bit, but it allows me to do things like, for Valentine's Day is this week, and I have a planned cheat day where I'm going to go out with my wife and eat a nice meal that's not going to be on carnivore. But I can still go do those sort of things, and I know they're coming, and I can plan for it. But yeah, in terms of the benefits that I've seen from carnivore, there's been many. So we'll start at the top. I've lost 60 pounds in about 4 months. And it actually, as of today, I am at the same weight I was when I did my first initial weight loss with that paleo coach plan. So as of today, I hit that, and hopefully tomorrow I will surpass it because I'm still losing weight. I'm still going. But so 60 pounds down, I've lost 9 inches off my belt line. So I've had to get two new belts, which is really encouraging. All my pants are too big. I probably need to go buy some new pants. Brain fog is gone, which is great because like I said, I'm in IT, so I'm problem solving all day long, and so having no brain fog has been super helpful. I used to get really winded going upstairs, like a single flight of stairs. I would catch my breath, and I remember, where I work, we would have some basically end users at the top of the stairs. And every time I'd have to go see them, I'd go up the flight of stairs and I'd have to just wait. And I just catch my breath and then, a minute or two. And then I'd go see them and they're right there. They can see me, but I didn't want to walk up and be out of breath. Don't get out of breath anymore. And I'm in a new position and I'm climbing flights of stairs constantly. So I climb 2 flights of stairs at a time to get to my desk, and that's great. The other thing I didn't mention is my energy level. So before I started carnivore, I would constantly have high energy, low energy. Like I would crash many times throughout the day. And because sugar and carbohydrates are like a bottle rocket when it comes to energy. You get a quick little burst of energy, and then you have none, and then you're like, well, I need to go get more. And so multiple times a day, I would have crashes. I'd have a big crash after lunch where I'd just be super tired and sluggish, brain fog, all of that. Now in carnivore, my energy level is just steady. So I have steady energy throughout the day. I do wake up fairly easily. And like once I'm up, I'm good. I don't have to spend a lot of time waking up, which is another thing. I used to I'd spend 10, 15 minutes in the shower just kind of coming alive in the morning. And now I can just go. And actually, what that has helped me do is to start working out in the mornings. So I'm waking up just 10 minutes earlier. But because I'm getting up right away, and also I don't have to go to the bathroom very much on carnivore anymore, as you know. So it's like my morning, I have all this extra time by just getting up 10 minutes early. So that's like made it possible to work out in the mornings, I think, with just 10 minutes of extra time. Yeah, constant energy is great. My blood pressure came down below the range that my doctor said. So I'm off my statin. So I don't have to do that anymore. That's great. Um, oh, this is something interesting. And I think I learned it from one of your interviews with somebody else. Um, I was having one of the symptoms I had when I started carnivore was I had heart problems. So one problem would be it would feel like it's beating really hard, like boom, boom, and and then another one would just be like it would go fast. It would be racing, or like I'd get done exercising and it would stay high instead of slowly coming back down. And I found out that it's because of the blood pressure medicine. Um, Something about it blocks potassium, I think, in some way, and potassium is really important for regulating your heart. So I'm doing a diet that is purging inflammation, so I'm getting rid of potassium already from my diet. And then I'm taking a medicine that blocks absorption of potassium that was creating my heart problems. And so as soon as I weaned off of my blood pressure medicine, my those heart problems went away and I haven't had them. So, but that was one of those things where you don't know that how bad a statin really is until you get into the weeds. The cracks on my hands are completely healed. In fact, my hands, if you look at them, they seem like they're moisturized now. And it's in the middle of winter here where I live. So even in a dry season with some bitterly cold wind on some days, my hands are doing great. They're not cracking at all. So I'm really grateful for that. Um, and then the other standard stuff, like I am sleeping better. I use an app to track my snoring. My snoring has gone down. Um, I used to snore several hours a night, and now I snore like 10 minutes a night. And I'm sure my wife loves that. I also don't have gas. I know that's pretty common with carnivores, but you really notice it when, like, oh, I don't fart anymore. It's one of those unseen benefits you don't think about, but it's nice. And same thing, I go to the bathroom every one or 2 days. So before, I would have to go to the bathroom multiple times a day. And it was slightly embarrassing how much time I spent in the bathroom. And the bowel movements would be all over the spectrum. So sometimes it'd be loose, sometimes it'd be constipated. It was just very irregular and often painful. Um, I remember many times where you'd go to the bathroom and you don't feel better, where it's like, oh, I can't go anymore right now, but I can tell there's more stuff in there and I don't have that anymore. So that's a really good blessing too. And yeah, there's probably a bunch of other benefits that I don't know of. Actually, there's one more I will mention: motivation. So, I've got 3 young kids, and it's really easy to just go into that survival mode of just get through the day. You don't have to do that house project. You don't have to do whatever. Just survive. And for years, that's how I was. I'd be tired when I get home. I got no motivation to do anything. Carnivore has given me that motivation now, where I am excited to try projects. I'm not out of energy when I get home from work. I put the kids to bed and I could still go do stuff and have a life. That's been really great, as has the willpower that I think carnivore gives me. Because if I don't feel hungry all day long, it's really easy to say no to the junk food. I'm just not hungry. I don't need it. and I'm not craving it. But but yeah, so carnivore is great. I'm a big fan. I'm telling everybody I know about it, preaching the gospel of carnivore. And I have set a personal goal for myself to get a six pack this year. And I've never had a six pack in my life. And because I've never had a diet in my life that I think could take me there, get me down to low enough body fat percentage. But I feel like carnivore can. And I feel like I could do carnivore for the rest of my life, which I think is really important. I don't see it just as a diet that I'm going to try. It's a new lifestyle.
Awesome. Awesome. That's fantastic. So congratulations, Alex. That's that's an awesome list of improvements and just one thing I really wanted to ask about was you did I think you answered this question in the last few minutes, but initially I thought you said you had seven more children. Did you say seven or several?
Several. I
Several.
have three
Okay.
total. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking, why is it so quiet in the room there? If you got seven or eight children, what? Um, so your wife, your wife joined you doing the paleo program you were doing. Is she joining you now to do carnivore, or is she just supporting you?
So she is meeting me halfway. She eats all the meat meals that I make. And I would say she's probably doing keto. So she is still eating some
Uh,
vegetables and some fruit, but she's being real intentional about it. And she's losing weight too. So it is encouraging and to work on it together because we can't feed the kids what I'm eating. They're just going to refuse it. So I was making food for myself for a while. Just I'll cook their mac and cheese, and then I'll also make a steak for myself, which was a big willpower test. And so now that my wife's doing it with me, it's really helpful. And even if she doesn't come around, she's still supporting me in it. She's helping with the shopping, she's helping with the cooking, and I think she's starting to see some of the benefits of eating meat herself. And she's enjoying seeing the progress that I'm making, and I think that's encouraging her and it's giving her hope.
nice. So, how was your doctor about you coming off the statin?
So talked to my doctor about coming off of it before I started carnivore. Um, I I noticed, like I said, that it was creating the symptoms that I was trying to fix, and so that made me want to get off of it. And she had said, if you just lose 30%, or not 30, 10% of your body weight, that will make a big improvement in your blood pressure. And so she gave me instructions on how to kind of wean off of it because you don't necessarily want to stop cold turkey. And as I started losing weight on the carnivore diet, I cut it out. And then, I'm sorry, I started weaning down. And then when I learned that thing about the heart and I realized, oh, it's really affecting me, I just said, okay, we're going to accelerate this. And I cut it off. So I have not been back to the doctor yet because honestly, I feel I expect a fight. I expect I'll say, "Hey, I lost 60 pounds and my blood pressure's in a good range." She'll say, "Great, what'd you do?" And I'll say, I'm doing carnivore." And then I expect she'll tell me why it's bad. So I'm just not mentally ready for that fight yet. Maybe I can collect some information. I've been watching videos about specifically cholesterol because I know that's a big objection they have, trying to kind of build a case there. But at the same time, I feel good. I don't have a need to go back to the doctor. It would just be to tell her, hey, I'm doing great now.
It's funny that this situation like this, and I think myself and many other people are probably in a similar uh, are in or have been in a similar situation where it's you're nervous about going back to the doctor because you can predict that the doctor is going to be irritated or be against something that you're doing. And it's not because you're not getting healthy, it's because deep down it's because you're not following the doctor's instructions, or the doctor is not going to the doctor doesn't have the, I don't know, the authority anymore. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's important for us because we're taking that authority back. We're taking the health into our hands, right?
Yeah, and I do want to do some blood tests, get some blood work done. I need to learn what type of blood test to request. I know there's plenty of other videos out there that talk about that. Um, but yeah, so if I go back to my doctor, I would probably go back to ask for a blood test and just kind of expect her to tell me to stop carnivore and just politely say, I think I'm going to keep doing it. If you want, here's some research that I have found, and I'll take my blood results. Thank you.
Day to day, how are you eating now?
So I'm still eating 3 meals a day. I'm thinking about going down to two, but for the morning, I usually eat eggs, bacon, or sausage. I'm skeptical on the sausage because the sausage has like 1 gram of carbohydrates, and so that I might need to cut that out. I used to eat cheese as of a couple weeks ago, and I found that cutting that out made me feel better. It was stalling my weight loss where I would maintain or gain a little bit each day, and then I'd have a breakthrough and lose a few pounds. But it was like it slowed my weight loss. So I cut the cheese out, and then um, for lunch, I usually eat leftovers. So leftover steak, leftover ground beef. I'm a big fan of ground beef with, I melt some butter on it, put a bunch of salt on it, and then I eat two hard-boiled eggs. And that it tastes really good. And I know a lot of people worry that you're going to get bored with the food you eat on carnivore, but I can tell when I'm hungry, I crave that food. Something I tell other people is, I didn't understand hunger for a long time. What I perceived as hunger was really carbohydrate withdrawal, where my body had gone a while without carbs and it says, hey, I want carbs. And it would manifest as a pain in my stomach. And now that I'm on carnivore, I don't get that anymore. The hunger is more like up in the throat and the mouth, and it changes the way the food tastes. That's kind of what I can tell. Like hunger changes that desire for food, and it works both ways. So like when I am full, my body will say, I do not want any more ground beef. It will just like, there will be a hard point where I say, this is gross. I don't want any more. But up until that point, I really liked it and I really wanted it. And so it's like hunger becomes an ally for you to say, hey, I'll help you enjoy the food you're eating, which is good fuel anyway. And then I'll also tell you when you've eaten enough. And so I try to like stay in tune to that, like eat until the food doesn't taste good anymore, because that's one of the symbols or the signals from your body that hunger is satiated. Um, and then for dinner, I usually make a new steak or new ground beef. So kind of just repeating the cycle. I try to make beef my main course, and that's been really effective. I'm not getting tired of beef. In fact, I keep exploring new types of beef. There's so many different cuts of beef. Um, I also do use seasoning. I just make sure that there's no carbohydrates or sugar in the seasoning, and there's a ton of choices there. My primary method of cooking is an air fryer, so I air fry most of the things. That seems to go really nicely. I do have a fun Bluetooth meat thermometer, so you plug the thermometer into the meat, and then it goes into the oven or the air fryer with the meat, and then I can check on the phone what the temperature is, and I can get it exactly how I want it. And what's really funny too is before I became a carnivore, I always ate my meat well done, because I had this sort of mental block that if I see red in my meat, that means it's uncooked, and uncooked could give me, an upset stomach, because I really hated, I hated having stomach pain before I was a carnivore. And I hated like eating food that might create diarrhea in me. So that I perceived pinkness in a steak as that's going to make me sick. And now that I'm a carnivore, I like it like right in the middle, like medium. And I use that meat thermometer to make sure it's cooked, but I'm okay with red. And red, you know, is red is good. So my preferences have definitely changed. And if I want a snack, I eat hard-boiled eggs. Those are really easy to grab and go. You can get a nice pack of them at Costco, and they're individually wrapped. So you can, if I make hard-boiled eggs myself, I have to eat them quickly because they spoil. Whereas if I'm getting a package of them and each egg, well, they come in pairs, but each set is individually wrapped. It lasts for weeks, and it's a great grab and go snack, and it's fairly affordable too. But that's what my average day of eating looks like.
So you mentioned you're kind of spreading the gospel about carnivore now. How have people reacted to that? And have you had any experiences where someone's gone, okay, I'm going to try it?
So people mostly respond well. They're very interested in how I lost weight. And I think it's kind of the same way that I was interested in my boss. If you look across the sea of adults that you know, or rather the sphere of influence, most of your friends are probably overweight and fat and struggling with the same exact thing. So to see someone who loses weight, that's an outlier. And that just becomes interesting for them. So that immediately makes them just ask, what did you do? Um, a lot of people will sit and listen and say, oh, that's really interesting. And I've had a few people say, yeah, I'm going to try it. But nobody besides my wife has actually started trying it. And like I said, my wife is kind of going halvesies. So, but I have talked to a lot of people, and the thing that gets me is so, phase one of the carnivore diet is research. And so I watch a lot of carnivore videos, and, I save the ones that I like into a playlist, and I am sharing that with people because I can't remember all the good arguments that I hear. But I keep seeing all these people that are saying, carnivore helped my depression, carnivore helped us conceive. We were having fertility problems. Carnivore helped my autoimmune problems. And then I see my friends and family suffering with those same things. And there's this dilemma of like, how do I tell them that I think this diet will help you without pressuring them? And I still haven't figured out that formula yet. I'm basically just trying to talk about it a lot and hoping that it will pique their interest and start them on their own journey. And then if they do want that information, I can send them that playlist and say, hey, here's some videos I found useful. And you've got some videos on that playlist too, Dave. And, but yeah, and I have had just maybe a few people that push back and they say, oh, well, you're going to get too much iron or you're going to get colon cancer. And I also don't have a good answer for them yet. I try to be nice and effectively find a way to say, I think there's good answers for that. But a lot of times those kind of people are not ready to hear it yet. They need some doubt in their nutritional worldview before they can hear that. And I think with me, that seed of doubt was when my health started deteriorating. Because up until, even my late 20s, I was fairly healthy. And then in my 30s, I started to get, I wouldn't say serious health problems, but I could tell I was on a bad path and didn't know how to fix it. And so, like, that gave me an impetus. So, until the naysayers have a good reason to question their nutritional worldview, I try not to push too hard with them.
So for someone watching that is considering getting started, how would you, based on your experience, how would you recommend they get started to kind of maximize the chance of success?
Yeah, I would say first step is do your research. There's a lot of things to learn, and I'm still learning. I've got tons to learn. I've only been doing this 4 months, but start by doing your research. That's free. You can listen to videos and things. You can listen to videos while you're driving. A lot of times you don't have to watch the video. You can just listen to it. So you can kind of redeem that time while you're driving. And then the second thing I would say is get a strong why. You need to have a good reason, probably more than just I want to lose weight. Because you can lose weight on carnivore, but you can also lose weight on many other diets for a season. Or, I personally, I found I could lose about 20 pounds by doing anything, any change. I could lose about 20 pounds. But if you have a stronger why, like I want to be healthy, I want to be able to be there for my kids, I want to avoid my family history of whatever, then you get a little more reason to say, I need a long term solution that I can live with. And the final thing I would say is at the very beginning, when you start, high salt and high fat. That's going to help you avoid the keto flu. Oh, and high water. You keep those high, you'll get through the keto flu no problem. And then when you flip over to being fat adapted, your bowels will level out. So those are the three big things I would say.
Nice, great advice. So, Alex, if people want to reach out to you, do you have a YouTube or an Instagram or anything?
Yeah, I've got a real small YouTube channel. It's a vlog where I basically record my thoughts on carnivore. I give updates. I kind of started it for personal accountability for myself, where I can go back and see, where did I come from and what am I learning. But the name on that is Just Your Everyday Carnivore, and I've only got about 100, a little more than 100 subscribers, so just a small channel. But I really enjoyed recording it, and I enjoy reading the comments and see people. The comments are all really positive too. I expected, oh, it's YouTube, comments are going to be toxic, but it's filled with people who are like, yeah, I did carnivore too, and I had all these great success stories. So it's just really encouraging.
Nice. Well, I'll link to that in the description. And Alex, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate your time.
And my pleasure. Good to talk to you, Dave.